effect, even if they don't smell marijuana. We've seen in other states, and actually it's been covered by major news media, where these DREs will take people who have never used marijuana in their entire life, accuse them of being high on marijuana while they're driving, and take them to jail, even though, because they detect behavior that they believe indicates that they're under the influence of cannabis while driving.
This is, to me, the $60 million question. Because as we've just described here, there is no reasonable number for per se.
Right.
And
a blood limit for THC.
And while I don't think there's a public safety issue here, I think that's nobody cares what I think. But the traffic issue is one that will get attention. It will be funded by something and for some particular purpose. It will be something that it's an area of regulation, the roads, traffic shit, that the police dominate and will always use as a method to be able to interact with citizens and investigate people. So, travel on the roads, it's the government's roads, you got a driver's license. Being there, doing that
privilege
is a privilege and an agreement that you have that if the police,
it's a privilege
for a reason that may not be valid or mistaken even, you have to pull over and show them your information and allow them, right.
Consent. Yeah.
So those, and if they think that you are intoxicated or impaired, you have to consent to a breath, if they ask you a breath or a blood test. That's the implied consent law. So, again, the point being that there's little, they can't exist. But the point is, in those situations, it has been very challenging for citizens with the marijuana and the smell. However, imagine a world where it didn't matter. Imagine where smell didn't effectuate that.
Well, then we'd still have the problem I just described, which is DREs accusing people who've never used cannabis of being intoxicated on cannabis because they're looking for bodily and physical cues, even when marijuana is not present in the automobile.
And here's the response. You can't have a per se limit, obviously. So this is the only answer. But from a practical standpoint, it's junk science.
Mm-hmm.
There's no methodology. There's no, like the horizontal gaze nystagmus test, which is a, the pen light that.
Yes. They perform this test on the roadside when they suspect you've been drinking or that you're impaired.
Correct. And there is some evidence to suggest that lack of smooth pursuit of the pupil following will take place and it will jump. But there's also 450 other medical conditions that would cause the same.
Right.
Okay? And there's a whole debate about whether or not the, whatever organization what would it be?
Orthopedics?
Not orthopedic, the ophthalmology, they did not want to support police officers doing the horizontal
shining lights into your eyes.
Yeah, and if a road, that's not and I'll tell you, certainly, none of that is indicative of cannabis use.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have any field sobriety tests. There's one that they think convergence. Do you ever hear this? If you can't,
your eyes cross at a certain place. Is that correct?
They can't cross.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question, Michael.
I don't know if it's true.
Horizontal gaze nystagmus is very similar to tests they perform in the doctor's office. Nurses, registered medical professionals perform this test. And now we're asking police officers to perform a medical test on the roadside.
Well, listen, that was the debate by the the medical organizations, and we're talking about the DREs. Now, the dilemma is, the AAA report said you cannot. AAA report that said you can't find a per se limit. It doesn't exist. People are too random. Their mechanisms. So they recommend
absorb THC in the fat, which
differently. Everyone's different, right? So you can't come with a number. They don't wait for them to do so. Looking at all these different reports and whatever, and their recommendation was that you have put the investment for this issue into drug recognition experts. Now, to me as a lawyer, I know that this is junk science. I know that it's not. I've started going off on a tangent, just all of the nonsense that they use, that it's not connected to or affiliated with anything other than the school of drug recognition experts.
Mm-hmm.
Where they one of the things is you have a green tongue.
I know.
This is like a thing, a green tongue from using marijuana. But I want to say that they will get qualified. They will get expert status. A jury instruction will be read to the jury that since they're an expert, they can give it as much weight as they want to. They can believe it, part of it, all of it, but they, and but to me, it's all nonsense. But the dilemma, and I like the challenge of taking them on in this particular field. But that doesn't mean that what they say will. That is not to say that what they say will not become, or it will become, is what I'm saying. What they say will become the folklore, as .08 did.
Mm-hmm.
People won't know what it means. There'll be no rhyme or reason to why it's accepted. But they'll come in and say, convergent test, stoned. Head tilted back, eyes closed, whatever, dark room.
By the way, the same thing, the legislature establishes a .08 or a .8. The legislature could switch it to a .6 or a .4. And then somebody who was intoxicated one day is immediately, or who was not intoxicated one day, is now immediately intoxicated the next for the exact same circumstance. So it's not scientifically derived, it's legislatively created.
MAD drove that number.
Yeah.
They own that number.
For what, cannabis?
No, for alcohol.
Michigan Association.
They're trying to push it even
Mothers
lower.
Against
Do you know that?
Driver.
Oh, yeah.
There's a movement going to get it down to .05.
That's part of what I was talking about. Is that this is such an arbitrarily selected number. How is a cop supposed to know the difference between .7 and .9? Right? I mean, he looks at you, he evaluates you, and he says, "I think this guy's a .3." Is that how he does it?
I mean, for the alcohol?
Yeah.
Well, they have a PBT. They have the preliminary breath test at the scene where they blow, and it's not admissible in court, but it's supposed to be indicative of,
being fucked up.
What are the factors that they can consider for probable cause? Now, it's not reliable. It's not admissible. It's admissible in some very limited instances, but generally it's not. They just use it for probable cause. And before they do it, they're supposed to wait 15 minutes, make sure you don't have any burping blood, fluid in your mouth, because that offsets the whole thing, which they rarely ever do.
Burping blood fluid in his mouth. That's gross.
But back to really what their complaint is here, that I'm telling you that if there was not a per se, like in drunk driving, if there wasn't a per se number, or if there was one count that was operating while impaired, and the evidence for it could be either evidence of impairment or the breathalyzer machine. It's one count, okay? Versus being able to convict someone of one or the other. See what I'm saying? Like what they do is you can either convict someone of operating with a breath alcohol level
an
greater
unlawful
than,
blood alcohol level,
or impaired driving, evidence of driving
and
not
they should
like a
show the
true.
impaired driving. It's
What I'm saying
they
is,
don't even need the breath test. You walk into a jury and you say, "Oh, I've got this video. He was driving like shit, and I smelled alcohol."
That's not true.
You don't
That's
think
not
so?
true. No, I think that the breath test what locks it. And I'm saying that when they hear that,
you don't think normal people
Listen.
would take the cop's word that the guy reeked of booze and was driving like shit?
no, it's totally subjective.
How is it subjective?
It's
It's on
one
a
of the-
video.
If it's a video, it's not subjective.
How they smell?
No.
Well,
okay.
How they smelled thing, okay, I'll concede that might be subjective, but if the guy is obviously weaving and driving like he's drunk and then the cop says he smelled like booze.
Listen, first of all, there are medical conditions that result in false breath tests.
I get it.
The machines are not
That's why I
always
think the
calibrated.
breath test is bullshit.
Understood.
Just like
But there's people that also have, acetone diets that make you
acetone diets.
Acid reflux disease.
Yeah, well, that is an issue regarding their.
Acetone diet.
I'm saying like there was like a bad breath is what I'm getting at. Bad breath with like alcohol.
Halitosis.
Yeah, but like with alcohol as being the
Underlying reason.
smell, not necessarily from that though.
Well,
or like
so you're actually advocating for the breath test? Is that what you're telling me?
no. What I'm saying is, it is what it is, and that's not going away. Okay. What I'm saying
Clearly,
is,
it's coming to weed faster than you think.
I'm saying to you, it's there for alcohol because they know that they've been able to test it more. There's probably, I mean, look at the people that, I don't know. It's an interesting question. The reality is, I think somebody that drinks every day is a really good drinker.
Yeah.
I'm talking like
they're professional.
Or I'm talking drinks and goes on the road and drives.
Yeah.
They are more likely than not going to get in trouble.
Right.
Because they're...
Unless they get pulled over for a broken tail light.
True, but they're not going to drive at a time when they're going to be more subject to that. They're not going to be coming home from a bar or whatever. Versus the people that I see get a lot of drunk driving, the cases you see coming home from opening day Tiger game or a Red Wings game or a wedding, you know what I mean? It's like a first, like they just did a little bit more than they know, or like a holiday party or, work party. I'm telling you, that's but, because, and those people who aren't in like drinking shape or like are over their normal, had one too many kind of thing, they're going to post a number that
it's going to be high.
It is what it is. Versus somebody else who may post twice as much and they're totally okay with it. That's my point. So there's some invalid.
That's why the breath test is bullshit.
But
like it's bullshit. Prove the person was driving like shit. That's it. That's all you have to do. Because the jury's going to believe anything the cop says, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The issue with the issue with the proving the bad driving is never going to win a case, and they're always going to need some other reason to show the connection, the nexus of the two. Because no person should be, if you're going to convict someone of the, other than the zero tolerance law, which of course doesn't count with the logic, the rules of making laws to prohibit people for actual bad acts instead of just. But the point is that the whole argument here I've been trying to, I guess, is that the police they have a problem. They want to own this field. They want to dominate this area on the roads, regulating the driving. He's frustrated that it's hard for them to get the proper cause because it may not exist.
Oh,
they need to know, And the point that I guess I'm getting at here is that if something is going to be developed, I'd rather it be drug recognition experts. But the problem versus a per se number. But the problem is, as you said,
would rather leave it up to the interpretation of a police officer. That sounds horrible.
Versus a per se number?
I think either one you're slitting
well, you gotta
your
pick
own
one.
throat.
You got to pick one.
No.
Yes, you do.
The one I pick is the system we have now.
We already have drug recognition experts now.
Right.
Okay. What we don't have is a per se number.
Right, but if you're a patient, they have to prove.
That's a different story. I'm talking about adults. I'm talking about instead of zero tolerance.
I am talking about overall that is
patients don't count. The Supreme Court spoke. I should have said all conversations recognize existing law. We're talking about legalization and this idiot thing.
Well, once REC passes, I think that the same should apply. I think that you should, again...
What should applies now is that zero tolerance applies.
Which is bullshit.
Okay, so something's got to change.
Yeah, even per se.
And they're not going to just repeal that. Right? But they're not just going to repeal it. Can we agree on that?
They aren't.
Okay, but when they repeal it, they're going to add something to it, and it's going to be one.
Yeah, but what's the wording of that law?
What law? Any president.
How
about this? Any presence causing accident or death.
What's the language in the initiative?
Some woman. I mean, there's people. The guy went to prison with a 1 nanogram accident, killed somebody.
Yes. I know. I get
Nothing related. There's a woman. There's a girl that.
I get it.
That what's his face? Jesse Williams and Eric Van Dusen.
Up north.
She had 1 nanogram. Her mother was in the passenger. Her mother died.
I read all about it.
Slipped in the ice.
I know. It was
had to have that 1 nanogram.
Tragic.
Didn't even think about it.
Yep.
She mentioned it after the fact.
Yep. She should have kept her mouth shut.
Below the threshold of error for the machine, 1 nanogram.
They will not charge 1 nanogram in most instances because they know the percent.
No, not unless
I got to admit
really
the percentage of error is 30% in this. 30%. This is not even admissible evidence. under any kind of standard. Science doesn't say 30% accurate.
Nope.
It's not science.
No, it's not.
That's a college experiment done by an undergrad, 30%
thumb in the
margin
air
for
to
error.
see what way the wind is blowing.
Even